The vet's gloved hands were shaking. That's what I noticed first. Not the blood, not the sterile smell of the operating room, not even my dog Baxter lying open on that cold metal table. It was her hands. Trembling like she'd just seen a ghost. "Mr. Patterson," Dr. Reynolds said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You need to see this right now." I stepped closer, my heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. She held up a pair of surgical tweezers, and dangling from them was something small, metallic, wrapped in pink tissue that had clearly been inside my dog for God knows how long. "This isn't a tumor," she said, meeting my eyes with a look that made my stomach drop. "Someone put this inside him." The room started spinning. I grabbed the edge of the table to steady myself, staring at that tiny device catching the harsh fluorescent light. It had numbers etched on the side. Numbers I recognized. Our company logo. "That's impossible," I whispered, but even as the words left my mouth, images started flooding my brain like a dam breaking. Trevor. My business partner. My so-called best friend. All those times he'd offered to watch Baxter. All those weekend dog-sitting favors I thought were him being helpful. "Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family, enjoy the story." Dr. Reynolds placed the device in a sterile container, and I could see it more clearly now. A tracking device. The same kind we used in our logistics company to monitor shipments. The same kind Trevor had access to every single day. How long has this been inside him? My voice cracked. Based on the tissue growth around it, I'd say 4 to 5 months. Whoever did this knew what they were doing. This required surgical precision. She paused, her jaw tight. "Mr. Patterson, this wasn't just implanted. Someone deliberately placed this inside your dog too." "To track me," I finished, the words tasting like poison. "To know where I was. Every meeting. Every client visit. Every single move I made." My mind raced back through the last 6 months. The clients we'd mysteriously lost. The deals that fell through right before we closed them. The way Trevor always seemed one step ahead, always had an excuse, always blamed market conditions or bad timing. He'd been sabotaging me from the inside, using my own dog as his personal spy device. But why? We were partners. We built this business together from nothing. We were supposed to trust each other. Then it hit me like a freight train. The argument 3 weeks ago about profit distribution. Trevor's face when I told him I was making him buy out his shares because I'd discovered discrepancies in the books. His cold smile when he said, "You're making a mistake you'll regret." "Dr. Reynolds," I said slowly, "you said this required surgical precision. You mean someone with medical training?" She nodded. "A veterinarian, a vet tech, maybe a medical student. Someone who knows anatomy and surgical procedures." Trevor's cousin. The one who just graduated from veterinary school last year. The one Trevor introduced me to at that barbecue, who'd seemed so interested in Baxter, who'd given me his card and said to call if I ever needed anything. The pieces were falling into place, and the picture they made was ugly. Uglier than I could have imagined. "I need to make a phone call," I said, pulling out my phone with shaking hands. But before I could dial, Dr. Reynolds touched my arm. "Mr. Patterson, there's something else." Her expression darkened. "When we were removing this device, we found traces of another substance in the surrounding tissue. Something that was causing Baxter's symptoms, the lethargy, the pain, the weight loss." "What kind of substance?" She hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "A slow-acting toxin. Not enough to kill him quickly, but enough to make him very sick over time. Sick enough that you'd be distracted, worried, spending money on vet bills, not paying attention to your business." The air left my lungs. This wasn't just about tracking me. Trevor had been slowly poisoning my dog. Torturing an innocent animal just to get to me. To destroy me piece by piece while I watched helplessly. How long had he been planning this? How deep did this betrayal go? I looked down at Baxter, still unconscious on the table, his chest rising and falling with each breath. The dog who'd been by my side for 8 years. Who'd slept at the foot of my bed every night. Who trusted everyone he met because that's just who he was, pure, loyal, loving. And Trevor had used that trust to turn him into a weapon against me. Save him, I told Dr. Reynolds, my voice steady now, cold with a rage I'd never felt before. Do whatever it takes. I don't care what it costs. She nodded and turned back to finish the surgery. I walked out into the waiting room, my phone already dialing Trevor's number. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Then his voice, casual and friendly like nothing was wrong. Hey buddy, how's Baxter doing? You at the emergency vet? He knew. Of course he knew. He'd probably been tracking the device signal right up until Dr. Reynolds pulled it out. We need to talk, I said. Right now. There was a pause. A long, heavy pause where I could practically hear him calculating, deciding what to say, what lie to tell. Sure thing, he finally answered, but his voice had changed. Harder. Colder. I think it's about time we had that conversation anyway. The line went dead, and I stood there in that empty waiting room, realizing that my best friend, my business partner, the man I'd trusted with everything, had just declared war. And he had no idea I now knew exactly how he'd been fighting it. 6 months earlier, life was different. Life was good. I remember sitting in my office on a Tuesday morning, watching the sun stream through the windows, thinking about how far we'd come. Patterson and Holt Logistics. My name first because I'd put up the initial capital, but Trevor's name right there beside it because he'd put in the sweat equity. We were equals, or so I thought. Baxter was sprawled under my desk like always, his golden fur catching the light, making him look like some kind of angel. He'd come with me to the office every day since he was a puppy. Everyone loved him. Clients would ask about him before they asked about shipping rates. He was better for business than any marketing campaign. Trevor walked in that morning with 2 coffees and a grin. Morning, partner. Big day today. The Henderson account is finally ready to sign. I took the coffee, clicked my mug against his in a toast. 3 months of pitching finally paid off. This is going to put us in a whole new league. Couldn't have done it without you, man, Trevor said, but something in his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. I didn't notice it then. Hindsight's a brutal teacher. He crouched down to scratch Baxter behind the ears. My dog's tail thumped against the floor, and Trevor laughed. Hey buddy, you're getting chunky. Maybe I should take you running this weekend, give your dad a break. You don't have to do that, I said, but Trevor waved me off. Come on, I love this guy. Besides, you've been working yourself to death lately. Take Vivian out to dinner or something. I'll grab Baxter Saturday morning, tire him out at the dog park. Couldn't have done it without you, man, Trevor said, but something in his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. I didn't notice it then. Hindsight's a brutal teacher. He crouched down to scratch Baxter behind the ears. My dog's tail thumped against the floor, and Trevor laughed. Hey buddy, you're getting chunky. Maybe I should take you running this weekend, give your dad a break. You don't have to do that, I said, but Trevor waved me off. Come on, I love this guy. Besides, you've been working yourself to death lately. Take Vivian out to dinner or something. I'll grab Baxter Saturday morning, tire him out at the dog park. The emergency clinic's fluorescent lights hummed above me as I sat in that plastic waiting room chair, my mind racing through every interaction I'd had with Trevor over the past 6 months. Every conversation suddenly looked different, like one of those optical illusions where once you see the hidden image, you can't unsee it. My phone buzzed. Trevor calling back. I stared at his name on the screen, my finger hovering over the answer button. Part of me wanted to scream at him right then, to unleash everything I was feeling. But another part, the part that had built a successful business by thinking strategically, told me to wait, to gather more information, to understand exactly what I was dealing with before I made my move. I let it go to voicemail. Dr. Reynolds came out 45 minutes later, still in her surgical scrubs, pulling off her gloves. Baxter's stable. The surgery went well. We removed the device and flushed out the toxins as best we could. He's going to need to stay here for a few days for observation, but I believe he'll make a full recovery. The relief hit me so hard I almost collapsed. Thank you. God, thank you. She sat down beside me, her expression serious. Mr. Patterson, I have to ask, do you know who did this? Because what was done to Baxter is a serious crime. Animal cruelty, illegal implantation of a tracking device, poisoning. This is police matter territory. I know who did it, I said quietly. I just need to figure out why before I go to the cops. She studied my face. Be careful. Someone who'd do this to an innocent animal has already proven they're capable of terrible things. Don't underestimate them. I drove home in a daze, my mind spinning. When I walked through the door, Vivian was in the kitchen making dinner. She took one look at my face and put down the knife she was holding. What happened? Is Baxter okay? I told her everything. The device. The poison. Trevor's betrayal. With each word, I watched her face change from concern to shock to anger. That sick son of a, she caught herself, pressing her hands against the counter. Why would he do this? What could he possibly gain? I don't know yet, I said. But I'm going to find out. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the empty silence where Baxter's soft snoring should have been. Around 3 in the morning, I gave up and went to my home office. I started digging through our company files. Bank statements. Client contracts. Email threads. If Trevor was tracking my movements, there had to be a reason. What was he trying to protect? What was he trying to hide? It took me 2 hours to find the first discrepancy. A payment to a vendor I didn't recognize. $5,000 for consulting services. When I looked closer, I found more. Small amounts at first, scattered across different months. Then larger ones. Over the past year, nearly $60,000 had been siphoned out of the company to vendors and consultants I'd never heard of. My hands started shaking as I pulled up our shared business bank account. Trevor had access to it too, we both did. We'd set it up that way because we trusted each other. Because we were partners. I checked the timestamps on the transfers. Most of them happened during my standing Wednesday afternoon meetings with clients. Times when Trevor knew exactly where I was and that I wouldn't be checking the accounts. The tracking device. He needed to know my schedule down to the minute so he could move money without me noticing. But $60,000, while not nothing, wasn't enough to destroy our business. So what else was he doing? I opened my email and started searching for the clients we'd lost. The Henderson account. The Morrison deal. The Packard contract. 3 huge opportunities that represented almost $2 million in annual revenue. Then I did something I probably should have done weeks ago. I created a fake email account and reached out to Henderson's CFO, pretending to be from a competitor looking for information about their new logistics partner. His response came back within an hour. We're very happy with Holt Solutions. Trevor really understood our needs. Holt Solutions. Trevor's name. Not Patterson and Holt. Just Holt. My heart started pounding so hard I thought it might burst through my chest. I searched the name online. There it was, a brand new LLC registered 3 months ago. Owner, Trevor Holt. Business type, logistics and supply chain management. He'd been stealing our clients. Taking the opportunities I'd developed, the relationships I'd built, and funneling them into his own company. Using my own schedule, tracked through my own dog, to know when to swoop in and undercut our bids. But it was more than that. It had to be. You don't poison someone's dog just to steal clients. You do that when you want to distract them, to break them down mentally and financially so they can't fight back when you make your real move. I pulled up our partnership agreement. The contract we'd signed 4 years ago when we formalized the business. There it was, buried in Section 12. If either partner became unable to fulfill their duties due to financial hardship or legal trouble, the other partner had the right to buy them out at book value. Not market value. Book value. Our company was worth at least $3 million on the open market. Book value? Maybe $800,000. If Trevor could force me into a position where I had to sell, drowning in vet bills, distracted by Baxter's illness, losing clients and revenue, he could buy my share for a fraction of what it was worth. Then he'd own the entire company, all the infrastructure and contacts and reputation I'd built, for pennies on the dollar. It was brilliant and disgusting in equal measure. My phone buzzed again. Another call from Trevor. Then a text. Where are you? We need to talk about the Riverside deal. Call me back. The Riverside deal. A contract we'd been negotiating for 2 months. Worth $500,000 annually. The signing meeting was scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. I looked at the clock. 4:30 in the morning. In a few hours, Trevor would show up at the office expecting everything to be normal. Expecting me to be too worried about Baxter to notice what he'd been doing. Expecting me to be weak and vulnerable and ready to break. But I wasn't going to break. Not anymore. I grabbed my phone and started making calls. First to our business lawyer. Then to our accountant. Then to a private investigator I'd once worked with on a fraud case. By the time the sun came up, I had a plan. Trevor had made one critical mistake. He'd underestimated me. He thought that by hurting Baxter, he'd hurt me so badly I wouldn't be able to fight back. What he didn't realize was that hurting Baxter didn't break me. It turned me into something he should have been terrified of. The office felt different when I walked in Tuesday morning. The same gray carpet, the same glass-walled conference room, the same coffee maker gurgling in the break room. But now I saw it all through new eyes. Every corner Trevor might have placed a camera. Every conversation that might have been recorded. Every smile that had been a lie. He was already there, sitting at his desk, typing on his laptop. When he saw me, he stood up fast, concern plastered across his face. That face I'd trusted for 4 years. That face that had lied to me every single day for months. Hey man. I've been trying to reach you. How's Baxter? Is he okay? I kept my expression neutral. Calm. He's stable. Had to have emergency surgery. They found something unexpected. Trevor's eyes flickered. Just for a second. A tiny crack in his mask. What kind of something? Internal blockage. The vet said it's been there for months, making him sick. I watched him carefully, testing. She said it's weird though. Like it was placed there deliberately. His laugh was too loud, too forced. That's crazy. How would something get placed inside a dog? Must have been something he swallowed, right? Maybe. I poured myself coffee, my back to him, buying time to control my face. The vet wants to run more tests. She's reporting it to Animal Welfare Services just in case. I turned around in time to see the color drain from his face. Animal welfare? That seems extreme. Yeah, well, when something this bizarre happens, they have protocols. I sipped my coffee. Anyway, you mentioned the Riverside deal? He blinked, clearly thrown by the topic change. Right. Yeah. They want to meet this afternoon to go over final terms. 2 o'clock at their headquarters. Perfect. I'll handle it. You sure? I mean, with everything going on with Baxter. I'm sure. I met his eyes directly. I need to focus on something normal. Besides, I've been lead on this account from the beginning. Makes sense for me to close it. Something shifted in his expression. Calculation. Actually, I was thinking maybe I should take this one. You've got enough on your plate, and I know their operations manager pretty well. Might smooth things over. There it was. He was going to try to steal this one too. Probably already had Holt Solutions papers ready to present as the better option. No, I said firmly. I'm closing this deal, Trevor. It's mine. We stared at each other across the office, and for the first time, the pretense dropped. Just for a moment, I saw the real person underneath. Someone cold. Someone calculating. Someone who'd been playing a part this whole time. Okay, he said slowly. If that's what you want. It is. The rest of the morning was torture. Acting normal. Discussing shipment schedules and client invoices like nothing was wrong. Like I didn't know he'd tortured my dog. Like I didn't know about the secret company, the stolen clients, the embezzled money. My phone buzzed with a text from the private investigator. Found something. Call me. I excused myself to the bathroom and dialed. His voice came through rough and urgent. Mr. Patterson, you need to hear this. I've been digging into Trevor Holt's finances like you asked. He's into some serious people for serious money. What do you mean? Gambling debts. Casino markers. Private poker games. He owes almost $200,000 to a group out of Atlantic City. The kind of group that doesn't just send collection letters. My stomach dropped. How long has this been going on? At least 2 years. And it gets worse. 3 months ago, they gave him an ultimatum. Pay up in full by December 1st, or they'd start taking payment in other ways. You know what I mean. December 1st. That was in 3 weeks. He's been making payments, the investigator continued, but not enough. Not nearly enough. Based on the money trail, he needs at least $1 million in the next few weeks or he's in serious trouble. $1 million. The exact amount he'd get if he could force me to sell my share of the company at book value and then quickly flip it at market value. This wasn't just about business rivalry or stealing clients. This was about survival. Trevor was a desperate man, and desperate men do desperate things. Like poison an innocent dog. Like destroy their partner's life. Like commit fraud and embezzlement and whatever else it took to save themselves. There's more, the investigator said. I found the cousin, Felix Holt. He graduated vet school with massive debt and a disciplinary mark for unethical conduct during his residency. Looks like Trevor paid off a chunk of his student loans 6 months ago. Right around the time your dog got sick. So Trevor had bought his cousin's cooperation. Paid him to implant the device during that free checkup. Paid him to keep quiet about the poison. Felix probably thought he was just helping his cousin with some corporate espionage, not realizing the full extent of Trevor's plan. I need all of this documented, I said. Every transaction, every debt, every connection. Can you have it ready by tomorrow? Already on it. But Mr. Patterson, be careful. These people Trevor owes money to, they're not playing games. If they find out you're a threat to their payday, you could become a problem they need to solve. I hung up and stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. This had escalated way beyond a business dispute. Trevor wasn't just my former friend trying to screw me over. He was a drowning man trying to use me as a life raft, and he had violent criminals breathing down his neck. And I was about to pull that life raft away. When I came back out, Trevor was on the phone, his voice low and urgent. He didn't notice me at first. I told you, I'm handling it. I'll have the money by the deadline. Yes, I understand what happens if I don't. I said I'm handling it. He hung up and turned to find me standing there. For a second, real fear flashed across his face. Client problems, he said quickly. You know how it is. Yeah, I said softly. I know exactly how it is. At 1:30, I packed my briefcase for the Riverside meeting. Contract proposals, pricing sheets, all the documentation I'd spent 2 months preparing. Trevor watched me from across the office, his jaw tight. Good luck, he said, but there was no warmth in it. Thanks. I'll let you know how it goes. I walked out to my car, started the engine, and sat there for a moment, checking my rearview mirror. Trevor was standing in the office window, watching me leave. His phone was pressed to his ear again. Making plans. Probably calling his Holt Solutions contact at Riverside, trying to sabotage the deal at the last minute. Or maybe calling his cousin to make sure their story stayed straight about Baxter. Or maybe calling those men in Atlantic City, promising them money he was about to steal from me. But I wasn't going to Riverside headquarters. That had been a test, to see if Trevor would try to intercept the deal. To confirm that he was still actively working against me. Instead, I drove to the police station, where I had an appointment with a detective specializing in corporate fraud and animal cruelty cases. It was time to stop reacting and start fighting back. Detective Morris was exactly what you'd expect from someone who'd spent 20 years dealing with white-collar criminals. Sharp eyes, tired face, coffee-stained tie. She listened to my story without interrupting, taking notes on a legal pad that was already half filled with other people's disasters. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair and studied me. That's quite a tale, Mr. Patterson. Do you have proof? I opened my briefcase and slid across copies of everything I'd gathered. Bank statements showing the embezzled funds. Screenshots of Trevor's secret company registration. The private investigators report on his gambling debts. Dr. Reynolds's surgical notes describing the tracking device and toxins found in Baxter. Text messages between me and Trevor where he'd offered to watch my dog. She flipped through it all methodically. This is substantial. But here's the problem. Some of this might not be enough for criminal charges. The embezzlement, yes, assuming your business accounts clearly show unauthorized transfers. The tracking device, definitely, though proving who implanted it might be tricky. Your dog can't testify. What about his cousin? The vet student who did the surgery? If we can get him to flip, that changes everything. But people don't usually confess to crimes unless they have a good reason. She tapped her pen against the desk. You said Trevor owes money to dangerous people. That gives us leverage. If Felix knows his cousin's about to go down hard, he might save himself by cooperating. So what's the next step? We bring Trevor in for questioning. Confront him with what we know, see if he cracks. Meanwhile, we'll get a warrant for your business accounts and for Felix Holt's communications. If there's evidence of conspiracy, we'll find it. She paused. But I have to warn you, this is going to get ugly. He's your business partner. This will destroy your company's reputation. Your clients will scatter. Are you prepared for that? I thought about Baxter lying in that emergency clinic, hooked up to IVs, recovering from surgery that never should have happened. I thought about the months of watching him suffer while Trevor smiled and pretended to care. I thought about the lies, the betrayal, the calculated cruelty of it all. I'm prepared, I said. She nodded. Give me 48 hours to set things up. Don't confront him yourself. Don't tip him off that you're onto him. Act normal. Can you do that? I've been doing it all day. I left the police station feeling lighter and heavier at the same time. Lighter because I'd finally taken action, put the wheels of justice in motion. Heavier because I knew what was coming. The end of a partnership. The end of a friendship that turned out to have been fake all along. The potential end of the business I'd built from nothing. My phone rang. Vivian. How did the Riverside meeting go? She asked. I didn't go. I went to the police instead. There was a long silence. Then, good. That bastard deserves whatever's coming to him. When do they move? Couple days. Until then, I have to pretend everything's fine. Can you do that? Sit across from him knowing what he did? I thought about it. I have to. For Baxter. For us. For every client he stole from me. Yeah, I can do it. That evening, I went to visit Baxter at the emergency clinic. Dr. Reynolds let me into the recovery room where he was resting. He was awake, and when he saw me, his tail thumped weakly against the blanket. Hey buddy, I whispered, kneeling beside his crate. Hey there. You're going to be okay. You're safe now. He licked my hand, and I felt something crack inside my chest. This dog had trusted everyone. Had loved everyone. Had never done anything wrong in his entire life. And Trevor had used that innocence as a weapon. I'm going to make this right, I promised him. I'm going to make sure he pays for what he did to you. Dr. Reynolds appeared in the doorway. He's doing remarkably well. His blood work is already improving. Whatever was poisoning him is clearing out of his system. When can he come home? Maybe Friday if he continues improving at this rate. But Mr. Patterson, I need to tell you something. She hesitated. That device we removed, I sent it to a forensic lab for analysis. They found fingerprints on it. Not many, but enough. My heart started pounding. Trevor's. We'd need his prints to compare, but there's more. The device has a manufacturer's serial number. I gave it to the detective you're working with. She can trace who purchased it and when. Evidence. Real, physical evidence that could tie Trevor directly to what happened to Baxter. Not just circumstantial connections, but actual proof. Thank you, I said. For everything. For saving him. For caring enough to dig deeper. She smiled sadly. I've been a vet for 15 years. I've seen abuse before, But this was different. This was calculated. Personal. Someone who'd do this to an animal as revenge against a person is someone we need to stop. I drove home through the dark, my mind spinning with everything that was about to happen. In 48 hours, Trevor's world would start collapsing. The police would question him. Warrants would be served. His gambling debts, his secret company, his crimes, all of it would come spilling out into the light. But first, I had to survive 2 more days of pretending. Wednesday morning, I walked into the office like normal. Trevor was already there, and he looked like he hadn't slept. His eyes were bloodshot, his shirt wrinkled. "Riverside called," he said immediately. "They said you never showed up to the meeting yesterday. What the hell happened?" I'd prepared for this. Baxter took a turn for the worse. The vet called me on my way there, said I needed to come immediately. "I tried calling you, but you didn't answer." He pulled out his phone, checking. I had called him, once, during the 2 seconds when I knew he'd be in the bathroom. Just enough to cover my story. "Damn," he muttered. "Is he okay?" "He's stable." But I rescheduled Riverside for Friday. Told them we had an emergency. And they were fine with that. They understood. These things happen. He studied my face, trying to figure out if I was telling the truth. I kept my expression tired but sincere. Just a guy dealing with a sick dog and trying to keep his business afloat. "Okay," he finally said. "Friday works. Maybe I should go with you this time, just to make sure nothing else goes wrong." "Sure," I agreed easily. "That'd be great." Because by Friday, Trevor wouldn't be going anywhere except maybe into police custody. The rest of Wednesday crawled by. Every time Trevor's phone rang, I wondered if it was his Atlantic City creditors. Every time he stepped out for a meeting, I wondered if he was moving money or destroying evidence or planning his next move against me. That night, Detective Morris called. "We've got the warrant for the tracking device purchase records. Turns out your partner bought 3 of them 6 months ago using his company credit card. He also made several calls to his cousin's cell phone the day before each time you say he took your dog. That's enough to arrest him, right?" "It's enough to bring him in for serious questioning. We're moving tomorrow morning. 9 a.m. We'll pick him up at your office. I need you to not be there when it happens. Can you arrange that?" "I'll work from home. Tell him I'm at the vet with Baxter or something." "Perfect. And Mr. Patterson? Whatever happens tomorrow, don't contact him. Don't answer his calls. Let him sit with what he's done. Sometimes that's when people crack and make mistakes." I barely slept that night. Kept picturing how it would go down. The police walking into our office. Trevor's face when he realized it was over. The questions he wouldn't be able to answer. The lies that would finally stop working. Thursday morning, I texted Trevor at 8:30, at emergency clinic with Baxter. Complications overnight. Might be here all day. His response came back immediately, "Oh no. Keep me posted. I'll handle things at the office." I'm sure he was relieved. Thought he'd have the whole day to cover his tracks, move more money, maybe even plant evidence to frame me for the embezzlement. Detective Morris had warned me about that possibility, that Trevor might try to flip the script, make himself look like the victim. But they were already on their way. I sat in my kitchen with my laptop open, pretending to work, checking my phone every 30 seconds. At 9:15, Detective Morris texted, "We have him. He's being transported now." My hands started shaking. It was real. It was actually happening. 20 minutes later, my phone exploded with calls from Trevor. I didn't answer. Then texts started flooding in. "What the hell is going on? The cops just arrested me at our office. They're saying I embezzled money and hurt Baxter. This is insane. Call me back right now. I know this is you. Whatever you think I did, you're wrong. You're going to regret this." That last text was the real Trevor. Not the friendly partner. Not the concerned dog lover. The desperate man who'd been backed into a corner and was ready to fight his way out with everything he had. I forwarded all the texts to Detective Morris and turned off my phone. Around noon, Vivian came home from work early. I couldn't concentrate, she said. Is it done? Did they get him? They picked him up this morning. He's being questioned now. She sat down across from me, reaching for my hand. How are you feeling? Honestly? I don't know. Relieved, I guess. Angry. Sad. All of it at once. I looked at her. We built that company together. 4 years of working side by side. How did I not see what he really was? Because he didn't want you to see it. Because he was good at lying. She squeezed my hand. This isn't your fault. He made these choices. He hurt Baxter. He stole from you. You're just making sure he faces consequences. My lawyer called it too. The police contacted me. They want you to come in tomorrow to give a formal statement. They've also frozen your business accounts pending investigation, which means you won't have access to company funds until this is sorted out. What? How am I supposed to operate the business? You're not. Not until the forensic accountants finish going through everything. Could be weeks. Maybe months. He paused. I'm sorry, but this is going to get worse before it gets better. Trevor's already lawyered up, and his attorney is claiming you're framing him. Says you're the one who embezzled money and you're using the dog situation to deflect blame. My blood went cold. That's insane. I know. But he's fighting back hard. This is going to be a battle. After I hung up, I just sat there staring at nothing. The business was frozen. My reputation was about to be dragged through the mud. Trevor was going to claim I was the criminal. Even though I had evidence, even though I knew the truth, the process of proving it was going to destroy everything I'd built. Vivian found me an hour later, still sitting in the same spot. Talk to me, she said softly. What if I made a mistake? What if I should have just let him buy me out, taken whatever I could get, and walked away? You mean let him win? Let him get away with poisoning Baxter and stealing from you? No, what if this destroys me too? What if trying to get justice costs me everything? She knelt in front of me, forcing me to look at her. Listen to me. Trevor made his choices. He could have been a good partner. He could have been honest about his debts and asked for help. Instead, he chose to betray you in the cruelest way possible. You're not destroying anything. You're just refusing to be his victim. She was right. I knew she was right. But knowing something and feeling it are different things. That evening, I went back to visit Baxter. He was even more alert than the day before, sitting up in his crate, tail wagging when he saw me. Dr. Reynolds said he could probably go home Saturday if his progress continued. I sat with him for an hour, stroking his fur, telling him about what was happening. Trevor's never going to hurt you again, I promised. Never. I made sure of that. Friday morning, I went to the police station to give my formal statement. Detective Morris met me in the lobby. Before we start, you should know, Felix Holt came in this morning with his lawyer. He's cooperating. He's talking. Singing like a canary. Gave us everything. Trevor approached him 6 months ago, offered to pay off $30,000 in student loans if Felix would implant the tracking device during a routine checkup. Trevor told him it was just to monitor corporate competitors, nothing harmful. Felix claims he didn't know about the poison. Do you believe him? Doesn't matter what I believe. What matters is he's testifying that Trevor paid him to surgically implant a tracking device in your dog without your knowledge or consent. That's conspiracy, animal cruelty, and about 6 other charges. Combined with the embezzlement evidence and the paper trail on his gambling debts, we've got a solid case. Relief flooded through me. So it's over? The investigation phase is over. Now comes the legal battle. Trevor posted bail this morning. His family put up their house. He's out, but he's not allowed to contact you or go near your office. His lawyer is already filing motions, trying to get evidence suppressed, claiming illegal search and seizure. This is going to take months to resolve. Months. Months of my business being frozen. Months of legal fees. Months of my name being associated with fraud and embezzlement even though I was the victim. But at least Baxter was safe. At least the truth was coming out. I gave my statement, walked through every detail of the past 6 months. The detective recorded everything, asked clarifying questions, had me sign documents. It took 3 hours. When I finally walked out of that police station, I felt emptied out. Drained. Like I'd been carrying something impossibly heavy and had finally set it down, only to realize my arms didn't remember how to work without the weight. My phone had dozens of missed calls. Clients who'd heard about the investigation and wanted to know what was happening. Employees freaking out because the office was locked and accounts were frozen. Reporters from local business publications asking for comments. I turned the phone off and drove to the one place that made sense. The emergency clinic. Dr. Reynolds smiled when she saw me. I was just about to call you. Baxter's doing amazing. We're discharging him tomorrow morning instead of waiting until Saturday. He's ready to go home. I went back to see him, and this time he stood up when I entered, his tail wagging at full speed. The spark was back in his eyes. He looked like himself again. "Hey buddy," I said, my voice cracking. "You ready to come home?" He pressed his head against my chest, and I wrapped my arms around him. For the first time in months, something felt right. Something felt whole. Whatever happened with the business, whatever legal battles lay ahead, whatever Trevor tried to do to drag me down with him, I had this. I had Baxter safe. I had the truth on my side. I had people who believed me. Dr. Reynolds cleared her throat gently. "Mr. Patterson, I don't usually do this, but I want you to know, you did the right thing. Fighting back when someone hurts an innocent creature takes courage. A lot of people would have just accepted it, tried to move on. You didn't. You made sure there were consequences." "I almost didn't," I admitted. "I almost just tried to survive it and let him get away with it." "But you didn't. That's what matters." I left the clinic that evening knowing that tomorrow I'd bring Baxter home. Knowing that the investigation was moving forward. Knowing that Trevor's carefully constructed lies were crumbling. But I also knew something else. Something that Detective Morris had said was nagging at me. Trevor had posted bail. His family had put up their house. That meant he was desperate enough, scared enough, that his family was willing to risk everything. And desperate people with nothing left to lose are dangerous. As I drove home through the Friday evening traffic, I kept checking my rearview mirror. Looking for cars that stayed too close for too long. Looking for signs that Trevor, or the men he owed money to, might be following me. Because if Trevor couldn't steal my business legally, if he couldn't frame me successfully, if he was going to lose everything anyway to those Atlantic City creditors, what would stop him from trying something more extreme? Saturday morning, I woke up to the sound of breaking glass. I bolted upright in bed, heart hammering, listening. Vivian grabbed my arm, her eyes wide in the darkness. What was that? Another crash. This time from downstairs. The kitchen, maybe. Or the living room. I reached for my phone to call 911, but before I could dial, I heard footsteps. Heavy. Deliberate. Someone was in my house. "Stay here," I whispered to Vivian. "Lock the bedroom door behind me." "Don't you dare go down there," she hissed back. "Call the police." But I was already moving, grabbing the baseball bat I kept in the closet. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I crept to the bedroom door, opened it slowly, peered into the dark hallway. The footsteps had stopped. Everything was silent except for the blood rushing in my ears. Then I heard a voice. Low. Familiar. Coming from downstairs. "I know you're up there, partner. We need to talk." Trevor. He'd broken into my house. Violated the restraining order. Come here in the middle of the night like some kind of psychopath. And I was standing at the top of the stairs with nothing but a baseball bat and fear. I should have called the police right then. Should have stayed in the bedroom with Vivian and waited for help. But rage overrode common sense. Rage at what he'd done to Baxter. Rage at the lies and the betrayal and the fact that he still thought he could intimidate me. I started down the stairs, bat raised, phone in my other hand with 911 ready to dial. "Get out of my house, Trevor. The police are on their way." A lie, but maybe it would scare him off. He stepped into view at the bottom of the stairs. Even in the dim light from the street, I could see he looked terrible. Unshaven, disheveled, eyes wild with something between desperation and fury. "You destroyed everything," he said, his voice eerily calm. "My reputation. My business. My life. All because you couldn't just let it go." "Let it go? You poisoned my dog. You stole from me. You tried to ruin me. I tried to survive." His voice cracked. "You have no idea what it's like to owe money to people who'll kill you for being late on a payment. I was drowning, and you were my only way out. I didn't want to hurt Baxter. I didn't want any of this. But you did hurt him. You made that choice." He laughed, a broken sound. "And now I'm going to prison. And those men in Atlantic City? They don't care that I'm facing charges. They still want their money. My family mortgaged their house for my bail, and I can't even pay them back. So yeah, I'm here. Because if I'm going down, you're coming with me." That's when I saw the gun in his hand. My entire body went cold. "Trevor, don't. Shut up. Just shut up and listen." His hand was shaking, the gun trembling. "I've got nothing left. Nothing. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign over your half of the company to me. Right now. Tonight. We'll make it look like a legitimate business transaction, like you were buying me out all along, not the other way around." "That's insane. The accounts are frozen. The police. The police don't know everything. I've got offshore accounts they haven't found yet. I've got assets I can liquidate. If I can get the company, I can sell it fast, pay off my debts, and disappear before the trial. It's my only shot. I'm not signing anything. Even if I wanted to, it wouldn't hold up legally." He raised the gun, pointing it directly at my chest. "Then I guess we're both done. Because I'm not walking out of here without a solution." Upstairs, I heard Vivian on the phone, her voice urgent but trying to stay quiet. She was calling the cops. Help was coming. I just had to keep Trevor talking long enough. "What about Felix?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "He gave you up. Told the police everything. Even if you get away now, they'll find you. Felix is a coward. Always has been. I never should have trusted him." Trevor's face twisted with rage. "But you? You were supposed to be my friend. My partner. We built that company together, and you just threw me away like garbage the second things got hard. You threw yourself away when you decided to torture an innocent animal." His finger moved to the trigger. "Don't talk about that dog like he matters more than I do. He's just an animal. He's worth 10 of you." I saw the decision form in his eyes. Saw him start to squeeze the trigger. Time slowed down in that impossible way it does when everything's about to go wrong. I thought about Vivian upstairs. About Baxter waiting for me at the emergency clinic. About all the things I'd never get to say or do if this was how it ended. Then the front door exploded inward. Police flooded into the house, flashlights and weapons drawn, shouting commands. Trevor spun toward them, and for a horrible second I thought he was going to shoot. Thought this was going to end with gunfire and blood and tragedy. But his hand dropped. The gun clattered to the floor. And Trevor collapsed to his knees, sobbing like a child. They cuffed him. Read him his rights. Led him out of my house while he screamed that this was all my fault, that I'd ruined him, that I'd pay for what I'd done. Detective Morris appeared in the doorway. "Mr. Patterson, are you hurt?" I realized I was still standing on the stairs, still holding the baseball bat, my entire body shaking. "No. I'm okay. How did you know to come?" "Your wife called 911. Also, we've had a patrol car watching your house since Trevor posted bail. When they saw him break in, they called for backup." She looked at where Trevor had been standing. "He's going away for a long time now. Breaking and entering, violating a restraining order, assault with a deadly weapon. Even if he somehow beat the other charges, these are solid." Vivian came running down the stairs and threw her arms around me. I dropped the bat and held her tight, both of us shaking. "It's over," I whispered. It's finally over. But even as I said it, I wondered if that was true. Because Trevor had been right about one thing: those men in Atlantic City still wanted their money. And when they realized Trevor couldn't pay them, would they come looking for other sources? Would they see me as responsible somehow? Would this nightmare really end with Trevor's arrest, or was this just the beginning of something worse? The next 72 hours were a blur of police statements, lawyers, and security upgrades. We installed cameras, changed all our locks, got a security system that would wake the dead if anyone even looked at our house wrong. Detective Morris assured us that Trevor was being held without bail this time, that he'd be staying locked up until trial. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something else was coming. Monday morning, I finally got to bring Baxter home. Walking into that emergency clinic and seeing him wag his tail, seeing him healthy and whole and alive, that was the first moment I'd breathed properly in days. Dr. Reynolds went over his care instructions, the medications he'd need, the follow-up appointments. "He's a fighter," she said, scratching behind his ears. "Most dogs wouldn't have survived what he went through." "He's the best thing in my life," I said quietly. "I should have protected him better." "You couldn't have known. Trevor fooled everyone." She handed me Baxter's leash. "Take him home. Love him. That's all he needs now." Baxter practically dragged me to the car, excited to be leaving. When we pulled into the driveway, he recognized home immediately, his tail going crazy. Vivian met us at the door, and Baxter jumped all over her like he hadn't seen her in years instead of days. For a few hours, everything felt almost normal. We sat in the living room with Baxter between us on the couch, his head in my lap, and just existed. No police. No lawyers. No Trevor. Just us. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mr. Patterson?" A woman's voice. Professional. Cold. "My name is Iris Chen. I'm a forensic accountant, and I need to speak with you about Trevor Holt." My stomach tightened. "I've already given statements to the police. I'm not sure what else." "This isn't about the police investigation. This is about the money Trevor owes to certain people in Atlantic City. People who've now decided that since Trevor can't pay, his business partner should." The world tilted. "That's insane. I'm not responsible for his gambling debts." "These people don't care about what's legal or fair. They care about getting their money. $200,000. Trevor told them you were the rich one, that you were the brains behind the business, that you were worth millions." "That's not true. Our assets are frozen, and even if they weren't." "I know. I've seen your financial records. Trevor lied to them, exaggerated your worth to buy himself time. But now they think you're holding out on them. They think you're hiding money that rightfully belongs to them." I stood up, pacing, my free hand shaking. "Why are you telling me this? Who are you?" There was a pause. "I used to date Trevor. 3 years ago. He destroyed my career, stole money from a client I was auditing, and made it look like I was the one who did it. I lost my CPA license. Lost everything. I've been tracking him ever since, documenting his crimes, waiting for the right moment to take him down. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I promise you won't want to miss what happens next." "So you want revenge too," I said slowly. "I want justice. There's a difference. And right now, you need help whether you realize it or not. Those men from Atlantic City don't make empty threats. If they've decided you owe them money, they'll come collect. One way or another. What do you want from me?" "I want to help you. I've been building a case against Trevor's creditors too, loan sharking, extortion, money laundering. If I can get them arrested, they can't come after you. But I need access to Trevor's financial records, his communications, everything the police seized. And you're the only one who can get me that access." It sounded insane. Trusting another person connected to Trevor after everything he'd done. But something in her voice made me believe her. Maybe it was the exhaustion in it. The same exhaustion I felt. The exhaustion of fighting battles you never asked for. "How do I know you're telling the truth? How do I know this isn't just another scheme?" You don't. But in 48 hours, 3 men are going to show up at your house demanding payment. You can either be prepared for that, or you can hope the police scare them off. Your choice. She hung up before I could respond. I stood there staring at my phone, trying to process what I'd just heard. Vivian was watching me from the couch, her face pale. What was that about? I told her everything. About Iris. About Trevor's creditors coming after me. About having 48 hours to figure out what to do. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, do you believe her? I don't know. But I'm not sure we can afford not to. That night, I called Detective Morris and told her about Iris's warning. She took it seriously, promised to increase patrols around our house, said she'd look into Iris Chen and verify her story. But Mr. Patterson, she said carefully, if these are the people I think they are, police presence might not be enough. These guys are professionals. They know how to work around law enforcement. So what am I supposed to do? Just wait for them to show up? No. You're supposed to be smart. You're supposed to protect yourself and your family. If that means working with this Iris person, then maybe that's what you need to do. Tuesday morning, I met Iris at a coffee shop downtown. She was younger than I expected, maybe 30, with sharp eyes and the kind of intensity that comes from having been burned badly and never wanting it to happen again. She slid a folder across the table. Trevor's financial history for the past 3 years. Every debt. Every payment. Every person he owes money to. I've been compiling this since he destroyed my career. I flipped through it. The numbers were staggering. The debts went back further than I'd realized. Trevor had been drowning for years, not months. Why didn't you go to the police with this before? I tried. They said there wasn't enough evidence for criminal charges. Civil debts aren't crimes. Even the loan sharking charges are hard to prove without witnesses willing to testify, and nobody wants to testify against these people. She leaned forward. But now Trevor's facing real prison time. Now his creditors are panicking because their investment is about to disappear. Now they're making mistakes. Getting sloppy. If we move fast, we can catch them doing something illegal and get them arrested before they come after you. And if we can't move fast enough? Her expression darkened. Then you'd better have a plan B. We spent 3 hours going through her files. She documented everything: names, phone numbers, meeting locations, payment schedules. She'd even recorded conversations with some of Trevor's associates, built a network map showing how the money flowed. You've been doing this for 3 years? I asked, amazed and a little horrified. Revenge is a full-time job when someone destroys your life. She met my eyes. Trevor made me look like a criminal. Made me lose everything I'd worked for. So yes, I've been obsessed. But at least my obsession is about to pay off. By the time I left that coffee shop, I had copies of everything Iris had compiled. I also had her number programmed into my phone and a plan to meet again the next day. When I got home, Vivian was in the kitchen making dinner, Baxter at her feet hoping for scraps. The scene was so normal, so peaceful, that it almost hurt to look at. Well? She asked. She's real. Everything she told me checks out. Detective Morris confirmed her identity, said she used to be a respected forensic accountant before Trevor framed her. So what now? Now we wait. See if Iris can get these guys arrested before they come for us. And if she can't. I didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. We both knew what came next. We'd have to run, hide, append our entire lives because of Trevor's choices and Trevor's debts and Trevor's inability to face consequences like an adult. That night, I lay in bed unable to sleep, listening to every sound. Every car that passed. Every creak of the house settling. Every gust of wind that might be footsteps. Baxter was curled up at the foot of the bed, his presence the only thing keeping me from completely losing it. Wednesday morning, my phone rang at 6 a.m. Iris. They're moving sooner than I thought. My sources say they're coming tonight. You need to not be home. My blood went cold. Tonight? You said 48 hours. Plans changed. Trevor must have told them something from jail, because now they're in a hurry. I'm working with the FBI, yes, this got big enough for the feds, and we're setting up a sting. But you can't be there when they show up. It's too dangerous. So what do we do? Pack a bag. Take your wife and your dog and go somewhere these people can't find you. A hotel under a fake name. A friend's house out of state. Somewhere safe. I'll call you when it's over. I woke Vivian and told her everything. Within an hour, we'd thrown clothes and essentials into suitcases. Baxter's food, his medications, his favorite toys. We loaded everything into the car like we were fleeing a natural disaster. Because in a way, we were. Trevor had been the earthquake that shattered our foundation, and now we were running from the aftershocks. As we pulled out of the driveway, I looked back at our house. The place we'd built our life. The place that should have been safe. And I wondered if we'd ever really feel safe anywhere again. We drove north for 3 hours, finally stopping at a small motel outside of Philadelphia. The kind of place that rents rooms by the week and doesn't ask questions as long as you pay cash. I registered under a fake name, paid for 3 nights, and carried our bags inside while Vivian brought Baxter in through the back entrance. The room was exactly what you'd expect: faded carpet, questionable bedspread, TV from the 90s. But it had a lock on the door and nobody knew we were there. That was enough. I'd barely set down the suitcases when my phone rang. Iris. Are you somewhere safe? Yeah. We're out of the city. What's happening? The FBI has agents positioned around your house. They're waiting for Trevor's creditors to show up so they can catch them in the act of extortion and attempted assault. But there's a problem. My stomach dropped. What problem? Trevor's talking. He made some kind of deal with the prosecutor. He's giving them information about his gambling operation in exchange for reduced charges on everything except what he did to your dog. That means he's telling them everything, including that he exaggerated your wealth to buy time with his creditors. So they'll know I can't pay them. Worse. They'll know Trevor lied to them, used them, played them for fools. And when these people feel disrespected, they don't just walk away. They make examples. I sat down on the motel bed, my head spinning. How did this get so out of control? All I did was take my dog to the vet. Trevor made it out of control. Trevor's choices, Trevor's debts, Trevor's lies. You're just the collateral damage. She paused. But here's the thing, you don't have to keep being collateral damage. We can fight back. How? I'm hiding in a motel like a fugitive. My business is destroyed. My reputation is shot. What's left to fight with? The truth. Evidence. The law. Trevor's creditors are criminals, and we can prove it. The FBI has been building a case against this organization for 2 years. Your situation just gave them the opening they needed to make arrests. If tonight goes right, these people go to prison, and you get your life back. And if tonight goes wrong? She was quiet for a moment. Then you stay hidden until we figure out Plan C. After we hung up, I told Vivian everything. She listened without interrupting, her face getting paler with each detail. This is never going to end, is it? She finally said. Even if they arrest Trevor's creditors, there will be something else. Someone else. We're never going to feel safe again. We will, I said, but I didn't believe it. This will pass. We'll get through it. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. I'm scared. I'm so scared that one day someone's going to hurt you, or hurt Baxter again, or hurt me, all because Trevor decided to be a selfish monster. I pulled her close, and we sat like that for a long time, Baxter pressed against our legs, the 3 of us holding on to each other like the world outside was trying to tear us apart. Hours passed. I kept checking my phone, waiting for updates from Iris or Detective Morris. Nothing. Just silence. Around 9 p.m., Vivian fell asleep from exhaustion. I sat in the uncomfortable motel chair, staring at my phone, watching the clock tick forward. 10 p.m. 11. Midnight. At 12:30, my phone finally rang. Detective Morris. It's done. We got them. Relief hit me so hard I almost dropped the phone. What happened? 3 men showed up at your house around 11. They broke a window, let themselves in, clearly intending to either steal valuables or wait for you to come home. FBI agents moved in, arrested all 3. They're being charged with breaking and entering, conspiracy to commit extortion, and about 6 other felonies. Plus, they're cooperating, giving up names of their associates, their operation structure, everything. So it's over? We can come home. Not yet. The organization is bigger than just these 3 guys. There might be others who come looking for revenge. I'd recommend staying where you are for a few more days while we round up the rest of them. But yes, the immediate threat is neutralized. After I hung up, I just sat there in the dark motel room processing. Part of me wanted to feel victorious. We'd won. The bad guys were arrested. Justice was happening. But mostly I just felt tired. Bone deep, soul-crushing tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of being afraid. Tired of watching my life fall apart because someone I trusted decided I was acceptable collateral in his own personal disaster. The next morning, Iris called with more news. The FBI raided Trevor's cousin Felix's apartment. Found evidence that he'd implanted tracking devices in other people's pets too. Apparently Trevor wasn't his only client. Felix has been running a side business helping people spy on their spouses, business partners, whoever. That's sick. It's criminal. But it also means your case against Trevor just got stronger. Multiple victims, a pattern of behavior, evidence of premeditation. His lawyers already calling about a plea deal. What kind of deal? Trevor pleads guilty to all charges related to your case in exchange for the prosecutor not seeking maximum sentencing. He'd still do serious prison time, probably 8 to 10 years, but not the 20+ he'd face if this went to trial. 8 to 10 years. Part of me wanted him to rot forever. But another part just wanted this to be done. Wanted to move forward without spending months in courtrooms reliving the trauma. What do you think I should do? I asked. I think you should talk to your lawyer and make whatever decision lets you sleep at night. Trevor's going to prison either way. The only question is how long. Over the next 3 days, we stayed at that motel while the FBI wrapped up their operation. They arrested 11 more people connected to the gambling ring, dismantled the entire organization. Detective Morris called with updates every few hours. More evidence found, more witnesses cooperating, the case against everyone involved getting stronger. On Saturday morning, she finally gave us the all clear to come home. We've swept your house. Changed your locks again. Installed additional security measures. You should be safe now. Should be. Not will be. Should be. Because nothing was ever certain anymore. We drove home in silence, Baxter sleeping in the back seat, exhausted from a week of chaos. When we pulled into our driveway, the house looked the same as always. But it felt different. Violated. Like we'd never truly feel comfortable there again. Vivian went inside first, checking every room like she expected to find someone hiding. I followed with Baxter, who immediately went to his favorite spot on the living room rug and collapsed. Maybe we should move, Vivian said quietly. Sell the house. Start over somewhere new. Maybe, I agreed. Because maybe that's what it would take to feel safe again. To leave behind everything that reminded us of Trevor and his destruction. That afternoon, my lawyer called. Trevor's officially accepting the plea deal. He'll plead guilty to embezzlement, animal cruelty, conspiracy, breaking and entering, and assault with a deadly weapon. The sentencing hearing is in 3 weeks. You can give a victim impact statement if you want. A victim impact statement. A chance to tell the judge, tell Trevor, tell everyone exactly what he'd done to my life. Part of me wanted that. Needed that. But another part just wanted to never think about him again. I'll let you know, I told the lawyer. That night, Vivian and I sat on the couch with Baxter between us, trying to figure out what came next. The business was still frozen. Our savings were depleted from legal fees and security upgrades. Our reputation was damaged. Starting over seemed impossible. But then Baxter rolled over, asking for belly rubs, his tail wagging, completely oblivious to everything that had happened. And I realized, he'd moved on. He'd survived something horrible and come out the other side still able to love, still able to trust, still able to find joy in simple things. Maybe we could too. We're going to be okay, I said to Vivian. I don't know how yet, but we're going to figure it out. She leaned her head on my shoulder. As long as we're together. As long as we have each other and Baxter. That's enough. And in that moment, sitting in our violated house, drowning in legal troubles, unsure about our future, I believed her. Because Trevor had taken a lot from us. But he hadn't taken everything. He hadn't broken us. We were still here. Still fighting. Still standing. And that had to count for something. 3 weeks later, I stood in a courthouse waiting room, my hands shaking as I held the pages of my victim impact statement. Vivian sat beside me, her hand in mine, giving me strength I didn't know I needed. Detective Morris had told me I didn't have to do this. That Trevor was going to prison regardless. But I needed to say my piece. Needed him to hear from my own mouth exactly what he'd cost me. The bailiff called my name, and I walked into the courtroom. It was smaller than I expected, more intimate. Trevor sat at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit, his lawyer beside him. When he saw me walk in, his face remained blank. No remorse. No shame. Just emptiness. I took my seat at the podium, adjusted the microphone, and looked down at my statement. But when I opened my mouth, the prepared words disappeared. Instead, something raw came out. Your Honor, I'm not going to read what I wrote. I'm just going to tell you what happened to me because of the man sitting over there. I pointed at Trevor. I trusted him. For 4 years, I called him my partner, my friend. I invited him into my life, into my home. I let him spend time with my dog, with my wife, with everything that mattered to me. And he used all of that trust to destroy me. Trevor stared straight ahead, refusing to meet my eyes. He didn't just steal money from me. He didn't just sabotage my business. He tortured an innocent animal because he was too much of a coward to face his own problems like an adult. He implanted a tracking device inside my dog, then slowly poisoned him, and watched me suffer for months while pretending to care. My voice cracked. I took a breath, steadied myself. Baxter almost died. The vet said if I'd waited another week to bring him in for emergency surgery, he wouldn't have made it. So Trevor's cruelty, his selfishness, his complete lack of empathy came within days of killing the most innocent creature I've ever known. I finally looked directly at Trevor. He was staring at the table now, his jaw clenched. But what breaks my heart more than anything is that it didn't have to be this way. If Trevor had come to me 3 years ago and said, I'm in trouble, I have gambling debts, I need help, I would have helped him. We could have figured something out together. That's what partners do. That's what friends do. Instead, he chose to lie, to betray, to hurt everyone around him to save himself. The judge was listening intently, taking notes. Your Honor, I'm not asking for the maximum sentence because I'm vindictive. I'm asking for it because Trevor has shown, repeatedly, that he has no boundaries when it comes to protecting himself. He'll hurt anyone, destroy anything, lie about everything if it serves his interests. He held a gun to my head in my own home. He violated a restraining order. He put my wife in danger. And even now, sitting here facing the consequences of his actions, I don't think he feels genuine remorse. I think he just feels sorry for himself. I looked back at Trevor one last time. You could have been better. You chose not to be. And that's on you. I sat down, my whole body trembling. Vivian squeezed my hand so hard it hurt, but the pain was grounding. Real. Trevor's lawyer stood up and gave some speech about his client's difficult childhood, his gambling addiction, his mental health struggles. All the standard excuses. All the reasons why Trevor supposedly wasn't fully responsible for his choices. But the judge wasn't buying it. Mr. Holt, she said, her voice stern. You've pleaded guilty to multiple serious felonies. You've shown a pattern of deception, cruelty, and violence. While I acknowledge that addiction is a disease, it does not excuse or justify your actions. You made deliberate, calculated choices to harm others. You tortured an animal. You defrauded your partner. You threatened a man with a deadly weapon. These are not the actions of someone who simply made mistakes. These are the actions of someone who prioritized their own interests above everything else, including basic human decency. She paused, looking down at her papers. I'm sentencing you to 12 years in state prison for the combined charges, with the possibility of parole after 8 years. You will also pay full restitution to Mr. Patterson for the embezzled funds, plus damages. You will be permanently barred from working in any fiduciary capacity or owning a business. And upon your release, you will have no contact with Mr. Patterson, his family, or any animals. 12 years. Trevor's face went white. His lawyer started to object, but Trevor put a hand on his arm, stopping him. For just a second, Trevor looked at me. And in that look, I saw something that might have been regret. Or maybe just resignation that he'd finally been caught. The bailiff led him away, and he didn't look back. Outside the courthouse, reporters were waiting. Apparently the case had gotten local media attention. Business partner implants tracking device in dog, dramatic arrest, gambling ring takedown. It had all the elements of a sensational story. Detective Morris helped us navigate through them to our car. "How are you feeling?" she asked. "Relieved. Exhausted. Empty." I looked at Vivian, ready to move on. "That's good. Because I have some news you'll want to hear." She smiled. "The business accounts are being unfrozen next week. The forensic accountants finished their investigation. Every dollar Trevor stole has been accounted for, and you'll be getting restitution. It'll take time, but you'll recover financially." "What about the clients we lost?" "That's the interesting part. Iris Chun reached out to them on your behalf, explained what happened, showed them evidence that Trevor had been lying and sabotaging deals. Most of them want to work with you again. They're impressed that you fought back, that you didn't just let him get away with it." I could barely process it. After months of everything falling apart, pieces were finally coming back together. That evening, Vivian and I took Baxter for a long walk in the park. He ran and played like he'd never been sick, chasing squirrels and greeting other dogs with his usual enthusiasm. Watching him be so carefree, so happy, so completely present in the moment, it reminded me that healing was possible. That moving forward was possible. "I've been thinking about Iris's offer," Vivian said as we walked. "About her wanting to partner with you on the business. Do you trust her?" I'd been thinking about it too. Iris had proven herself over the past month. She'd helped expose Trevor's creditors, worked with the FBI, reached out to our former clients. She'd done more to help me than Trevor ever had. "Yeah," I said. "I think I do." She understands what it's like to be betrayed by Trevor. She's been fighting for justice for 3 years. That kind of dedication, that kind of integrity, that's what I want in a partner. "So you're going to do it? Start over with her?" "I think so. Patterson and Chun Logistics. Has a nice ring to it." She smiled. "It does." Over the next few weeks, Iris and I met regularly to plan the business's resurrection. She brought her forensic accounting expertise, her attention to detail, her understanding of financial systems. I brought the client relationships, the industry knowledge, the operational experience. Together, we rebuilt what Trevor had tried to destroy. And this time, it was built on honesty, on transparency, on actual trust instead of blind faith. The clients came back. The revenue returned. Slowly, steadily, the business became profitable again. We hired new staff, people we vetted carefully. We implemented checks and balances so no one person could ever have the kind of unchecked access that Trevor had abused. And Baxter? He became our office mascot. Every client meeting, every new hire interview, every celebration of success, Baxter was there, reminding everyone that loyalty and trust weren't just business concepts. They were real things, lived out every day by a dog who'd survived the worst and still chose to love. 6 months after Trevor's sentencing, I got a letter from him. It had been forwarded through my lawyer, who'd reviewed it first to make sure it wasn't threatening. I almost threw it away without reading it. But curiosity got the better of me. The letter was short. No excuses. No self-pity. Just a simple statement: "I'm sorry for what I did to Baxter. I'm sorry for betraying your trust. I know you'll never forgive me, and you shouldn't. But I wanted you to know that I regret it. All of it. I read it twice, looking for the angle, the manipulation, the hidden agenda. But there wasn't one. It was just an apology. Too late, too little, but genuine. I filed it away in a drawer and never responded. Because some betrayals don't deserve replies. Some people don't deserve second chances. And Trevor had made his choices. Now I was making mine. 1 year later, I stood at the grand opening of our new office building. Patterson and Chun Logistics had grown beyond anything I'd imagined. We'd doubled our client base, expanded into 3 new markets, hired 20 employees. The trauma of Trevor's betrayal had transformed into something stronger, something better. Iris stood beside me, cutting the ribbon while cameras flashed and clients applauded. Baxter sat between us, wearing a ridiculous bow tie that Vivian had insisted on, his tail wagging as people came up to pet him and take photos. "We did it," Iris said quietly, just loud enough for me to hear. "We actually did it." "Yeah, we did." But the real moment came later that evening, after everyone had gone home, after the speeches and the champagne and the congratulations. I sat in my new office, looking out at the city lights, and my phone rang. It was Dr. Reynolds, Baxter's vet. "Mr. Patterson, I wanted to let you know something. Remember how I reported Trevor's case to the State Veterinary Board and animal welfare organizations?" "Of course." "Well, because of your case, they've implemented new regulations. Mandatory reporting of suspicious surgical procedures. Better tracking of medical devices. Stricter penalties for veterinarians who participate in animal cruelty. Your willingness to fight back, to make noise about what happened to Baxter, it changed things. It's going to protect other animals from going through what he went through." I felt tears prick my eyes. That's really good to hear. You turned something horrible into something meaningful. That takes courage. After we hung up, I called Baxter over. He trotted across the office and put his head in my lap, looking up at me with those trusting brown eyes. The same eyes that had looked at Trevor with trust before Trevor violated it. The same eyes that had looked at me during his recovery, still willing to love, still willing to believe in goodness. "You're a better teacher than any person I've ever met," I told him, scratching behind his ears. "You forgave when you had every right to hate. You trusted again when you had every reason not to. You showed me what real strength looks like." He licked my hand, completely oblivious to the philosophical weight I was putting on him. He just knew he was loved, and that was enough. That night at home, Vivian asked me the question I'd been avoiding for months. "Have you forgiven him, Trevor?" I thought about it carefully. No. I don't think I ever will. Forgiveness isn't always necessary for healing. Sometimes you just need to accept that someone hurt you, that they're facing consequences, and that you're moving forward without them. That's enough. What about trust? Can you ever trust a business partner again? I trust Iris. She earned it by being honest, transparent, and consistent. That's the difference. Trevor wanted blind faith. Iris built actual trust. I looked at my wife. The lesson isn't to never trust anyone. It's to trust wisely. To watch for red flags. To verify, not just believe. To build partnerships on accountability, not just affection. She nodded slowly. "I'm proud of you. For how you handled all of this. For not letting Trevor's cruelty turn you cruel. For fighting back without losing yourself." The next morning, I got a call from a local news station. They wanted to do a feature story about business recovery after betrayal, using our company as an example. At first I wanted to say no, to keep our story private. But then I thought about all the people out there dealing with their own Trevor situations. People being betrayed by partners, friends, family members. People feeling helpless and alone. Maybe our story could help them. Maybe knowing that someone else had survived and thrived could give them hope. I said yes to the interview. 2 weeks later, the segment aired. They showed footage of our new office, interviewed me and Iris about rebuilding trust in business, showed clips of Baxter being his adorable self. But the part that resonated most with viewers was when the reporter asked me what I'd learned from the whole ordeal. I learned that betrayal says everything about the betrayer and nothing about the betrayed, I said. Trevor's choices were about his character, not mine. His cruelty was about his weakness, not my worthlessness. And when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Don't wait for a second chance to destroy you. The segment went viral. My phone exploded with messages from people sharing their own stories of betrayal and asking for advice. Business owners who'd been defrauded by partners. People whose friends had stolen from them. Families torn apart by lies. I couldn't respond to everyone, but I tried. And what I told them was simple: document everything, trust your instincts, seek help from professionals, and don't let shame keep you silent. Betrayal thrives in secrecy. Justice happens when you speak up. 6 months after that, I got an unexpected visitor at the office. Felix Holt, Trevor's cousin, the veterinarian who'd implanted the tracking device in Baxter. Security called me before letting him up. "There's a Felix Holt here asking to see you. Should we send him away?" My first instinct was yes. But curiosity made me say, no. Send him up. But have security stand right outside my office door. Felix looked terrible. Thin, hollow-eyed, like he hadn't slept in months. He stood in my doorway wringing his hands, barely able to meet my eyes. "I know you don't want to see me," he started. "I know what I did was unforgivable. But I needed to tell you in person. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I lost my veterinary license, I'm facing criminal charges, my family won't speak to me, and I deserve all of it. But none of that compares to the guilt I feel about what I did to Baxter." I stared at him, trying to figure out if this was genuine or just another manipulation. "Why are you really here, Felix?" "Because I've been going to therapy. Working on taking accountability. And my therapist said that apologizing to the people I hurt, even if they don't accept it, is part of my recovery. So I'm not here asking for forgiveness. I'm just here to say that what I did was wrong. I was greedy and weak, and I prioritized money over ethics, and an innocent animal suffered because of me. I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to make up for that." "How?" "You can't practice veterinary medicine anymore." "I know. But I volunteer at animal shelters now. I help with rescue operations. I do whatever I can to help animals, even if it's just cleaning kennels or walking dogs. It doesn't erase what I did, but it's something." I looked at this broken man standing in my office, and I felt nothing. No rage. No satisfaction at his suffering. Just emptiness. "I appreciate you coming here," I said finally. "I appreciate you taking responsibility. But I can't give you forgiveness or absolution or whatever it is you're looking for. That's between you and your conscience." He nodded, tears running down his face. "I understand. Thank you for hearing me out." He turned to leave, then stopped. "How is Baxter? Is he okay?" "He's perfect. He's happy and healthy and completely recovered." Felix's face crumpled with relief. "Good. That's good. I'm glad." After he left, I sat in my office for a long time processing. Some part of me had wanted him to grovel more, to suffer more visibly. But seeing him genuinely broken, genuinely trying to change, it didn't feel as satisfying as I'd imagined. Maybe that's what real growth looks like. Moving past needing revenge or validation from the people who hurt you. Just accepting that they're dealing with their own consequences and you're moving forward with your own life. That evening, I took Baxter to his favorite dog park. Watched him run and play with other dogs, completely free of the trauma that had almost killed him. He didn't carry grudges. Didn't dwell on the past. Just lived fully in each moment, finding joy wherever he could. "You're the wisest creature I know," I told him as we walked home. "You survived something terrible and didn't let it make you bitter. You still love unconditionally. Still trust freely. Still find happiness in simple things. That's the kind of person I want to be." He wagged his tail and tried to chase a squirrel, because profound life lessons mean nothing to dogs compared to potential squirrel-catching opportunities. 2 years after Trevor's sentencing, I got notice that he was coming up for parole review. As his victim, I had the right to submit a statement supporting or opposing his early release. Vivian asked me what I was going to do. Do you think he deserves parole? I don't know if it's about what he deserves. It's about whether he's actually changed. Whether he's safe to be back in society. I reached out to Detective Morris, asked about Trevor's behavior in prison. She did some digging and reported back. He's been a model prisoner. Completed every rehabilitation program available. Been mentoring other inmates, helping them with business skills and financial literacy. Hasn't had a single disciplinary issue. His therapist says he's made real progress addressing his gambling addiction and the underlying issues that drove his behavior. Do you believe it's real? She paused. I've seen a lot of criminals fake rehabilitation. Trevor doesn't seem like he's faking. But that doesn't mean you owe him anything. You get to decide whether you want to support his parole or oppose it. I thought about it for days. Discussed it with Vivian and Iris. Read Trevor's rehabilitation reports. Tried to separate my anger from rational assessment of whether he'd genuinely changed. In the end, I wrote a letter to the parole board. Not supporting his release, but not opposing it either. Just laying out facts, what he'd done, how it had affected me, what I knew about his rehabilitation efforts, and leaving the decision to them. I can't say whether Trevor Holt deserves a second chance, I wrote. But I can say that people are capable of change, and if the professionals who've worked with him believe he's done the work, then I trust their judgment more than my personal feelings. My priority is protecting other potential victims. If he's released, there need to be strict conditions. No contact with me or my family, no access to animals, no involvement in financial businesses, regular therapy, ongoing monitoring. Beyond that, his redemption is between him and himself. 3 months later, Trevor was granted parole with all the conditions I'd suggested. I got a notification that he'd been released, that he'd moved to a different state, that he was working in construction under close supervision. I felt relief. Not because I'd forgiven him, but because his chapter in my life was finally closed. He was someone else's responsibility now, someone else's concern. I could let go of wondering when the other shoe would drop, when he'd show up again, when the nightmare would restart. It was over. Really, truly over. Now, sitting in my office 3 years after that terrible day when Dr. Reynolds pulled a tracking device out of my dog, I can look back and see the full arc of what happened. The devastation. The fight. The recovery. The growth. Baxter is curled up under my desk, gray starting to show around his muzzle, but still the same loving, trusting soul he's always been. Patterson and Chun Logistics is thriving beyond my wildest expectations. Vivian and I are stronger than ever, our marriage tempered by shared trauma and shared triumph. And me? I'm different than I was 3 years ago. Warier in some ways, but also more confident. More sure of my judgment. More willing to stand up when something's wrong. The lesson I've learned, the one I share whenever someone asks about betrayal and recovery, is simple. Some people will hurt you because they're broken. They'll lie because they're desperate. They'll betray you because they're weak. And none of that is about you. Their brokenness doesn't reflect your worth. Their desperation doesn't justify their cruelty. Their weakness doesn't mean you were foolish to trust. You get to choose what happens next. You can let betrayal make you bitter, or you can let it make you wiser. You can close yourself off from ever trusting again, or you can learn to trust more carefully. You can define yourself by what was done to you, or you can define yourself by how you responded. I chose to fight back. To demand justice. To rebuild what was destroyed. To trust again, but smarter. To love my dog, my wife, my business partner with full awareness that trust is earned through consistency, not granted through hope. And I chose to turn my pain into purpose, helping other people recognize betrayal, fight back against it, and recover from it. Because Trevor took a lot from me, but he didn't take everything. He didn't break me. He just showed me how strong I actually was. That's the real victory. Not that he went to prison. Not that my business recovered. Not that justice was served. The victory is that I'm still here, still standing, still building a life worth living. Still believing that most people are good, while being prepared for the ones who aren't. Baxter stretches under my desk, yawns, and goes back to sleep. He's completely forgotten the trauma of 3 years ago. For him, there's only now, this moment, this office, this comfortable spot under the desk where he feels safe and loved. Maybe that's the ultimate lesson. Not to forget what happened, but to not let it define every moment going forward. To carry wisdom without carrying bitterness. To remember the past without living in it. I scratch Baxter's ears one more time, save the business plan I've been working on, and shut down my computer. It's time to go home. Time to have dinner with my wife. Time to take Baxter for his evening walk. Time to live the life that Trevor tried to destroy but couldn't. Because in the end, the best revenge isn't making your enemy suffer. It's building a life so good, so full, so meaningful that their betrayal becomes just a footnote in your story instead of the whole narrative. And that's exactly what I did. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We share real stories about overcoming betrayal, finding justice, and rebuilding after devastation. Your story matters too. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to find the courage to stand up for themselves. Together, we create a community where betrayal doesn't win, where justice is possible, and where healing happens. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for believing that good people can survive bad situations and come out stronger on the other side.